Hello, good afternoon. It's Marie with your new school. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, Marie.
Hey. Oh my gosh, my allergies are so bad. I just feel like I'm sniffling all the time. How is everybody doing this afternoon? We've got a little time for those of you just jumping on. Please make sure that you type in your full name and school name into the chat box so that we can track attendance. If you are from a school that has multiple campuses, please indicate which campus you are from as well, so we are sending your information to the right school. I don't know what is going on. All right. All right, I've gone ahead and muted everybody's microphones. If you guys can please do the best you can on keeping your microphones muted. I will do my best to keep it muted on my end. For those of you who are just jumping on, please make sure that you are typing in your full name and your school name into the chat box, along with the location so that we know what campus you are from if you are from a school that has multiple locations. For the most part, I think I got everybody out of the waiting room. Let me double check. All right. All right, for those of you who are just jumping on, this is Marie with your new school. I am the educator with your new school. Today's webinar is going to be on nail art. The focus of the webinar is more to be technique, not so much design. So we're going to focus on different techniques of nail art, and we'll throw in some designs in there. I'm going to show you some nail art using Artform 2D gel along with gel polish, and then we'll just go through some do's and don'ts to hopefully inspire you guys to do nail art throughout your nail careers. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to minimize a couple screens on my end. For those of you who are just jumping on, please remember to type in your full name and school name into the chat box along with location so that we can submit your names to the appropriate school for attendance purposes. So without further ado, welcome. So we're going to do some simple nail art using gel polish. And I'm also going to show you the Gelish Artform gel, which is a little different than gel polish. I'm very new to the Artform gel. It's not something that I work with regularly, so I'll be honest, I'm not that great at using the Artform gel. It's not really my cup of tea, but I had to order it and play with it and see what it was all about. There's some things I like, some things I don't like, so I'll show you all that on camera. So welcome. So a couple do's and don'ts when you are doing nail art, whether it's with gel polish or even regular polish. So it kind of pertains to both, with the exception of striping tape. We'll talk a little bit about striping tape with gel polish as well. So first, do apply a base coat before your polish application. No matter what type of design you're trying to create, always use a base coat. It helps to protect against staining, and it lays a nice smooth foundation for any type of nail art to be applied to. Don't forget to remove striping tape before the polish dries when creating negative space. It's a little different with gel polish. Gel polish, you do have to cure your polish before removing the striping tape, but I'll talk about it on camera and show you the difference on do's and don'ts. Striping tape with gel polish is a lot different. But when you're using regular polish, timing is crucial to achieve those nice, clean, sharp lines in negative space. So in order to avoid smudging, always carefully peel off your striping tape while the polish is still wet, so that way it doesn't lift or dent your polish or your striped lines. You want to protect the skin from polish whenever stamping or sponging. Polish can be pretty difficult to remove from the skin when creating these stamping or ombre designs. You can use either liquid latex or a couple pieces of Scotch tape around the nail before sponging or stamping to keep your polish off of the skin. I find that as long as you're removing the polish, if you don't have access to liquid latex or you don't want to sit there with the Scotch tape, I find that as soon as you're done stamping or sponging that finger, immediately remove the polish off of the skin. Don't let it dry. That way you don't have to worry about latex or Scotch tape. Do not use top coat to secure your charms. Even though it's the easiest method of securing 3D charms, top coats offer very little adhesion unless you're looking to wear these charms for a short period of time. So if it's just like a one-time deal, somebody for prom, they don't care if it pops off after that, then by all means use the top coat. But if you are wanting these designs and gems to last a little longer, opt for using nail glue or, again, gel polish, because gel polish will encapsulate those designs and hold them in place. Do use your finger to hold your hand steady when you are painting lines. So your finger makes a great kickstand. So painting those perfect lines can be very tricky, especially if you have a shaky hand. So you want to make sure that you're holding your brush and you're keeping your hand steady by resting your pinky on either their hand, your own hand, the table, however your hand is positioned to steady your hand. And then don't overmix your polishes. If you're going to be mixing colors together, especially gel polish, they self-level very quickly and they blend together very easily. So you don't want to overmix your colors. Otherwise, it gets really muddy and mucky and you won't get that really cool marbling design. So be careful when it comes to overmixing your gel colors. Pricing your nail art. So pricing your nail art can be pretty tricky. You want to make sure that you're making a profit and not a loss. So sometimes you don't have any control over your pricing if you're working for a salon and they've already have set pricing. But if you are somebody who's independent, you may decide to have a flat rate for your nail art. So for example, $5 for an accent finger, $10 to $15 for all 10 fingers, $1 per charm or stone that you add. So these are just examples. Some techs may charge by design. So really simple designs range from $5 to $10, while detailed, more time-consuming art can range from $15 to $20. So for the most part, you want to be able to perform your design within the allotted appointment time or book yourself enough time to complete your design without pushing further appointments behind. Most clients don't know that they want nail art or they don't tell you when they book their appointment. They say, I'd like to come in for a gel manicure. They come in and then they bring you a whole Pinterest page of nail art designs and you weren't prepared to be doing nail art. So you want to make sure that you can perform that design within that allotted appointment time so that you're not pushing further appointments behind and pushing yourself behind on your appointments, because that's going to make you lose money. So you want to be able to make money. So if you can perform a design within the already given appointment time, you're going to make money. And that's our goal with nail art. You want to make sure that you're showcasing and promoting your art. A great way to do that is to wear your own nail art. Some clients just need to see the art on someone before wanting it for themselves. Plus, it helps when they see the nail art on your finger throughout your entire appointment time to inspire them to want to put nail art on. And then be sure that the nail art that is displayed are designs that you can perform. So keep a variety of designs at your station for your client to choose from. I have a huge issue walking into a salon and they have like a showcase window with nail art that's labeled 1 through 20 and that you get to choose from, because you have no idea who created those designs and you have no idea if the nail tech that you're sitting with can even perform those designs. So I'm a firm believer, have your own work at your own station, and that's the art that they're choosing from. And the art that you're displaying, kind of make sure it's the designs that pertain to the season and also that you can perform within that given time. So that always helps. Now, of course, they're going to bring pictures and things from Pinterest that, you know, they want you to perform. If you honestly cannot do that, just be honest with them and tell them, like, well, I can try to create something close to that. Some people love nail art and some people don't. And I don't mean like having it on, I mean by performing it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. I'm not somebody who wears nail art. I personally don't like it on my fingers. But I don't mind doing nail art. I think it's fun and I like being creative. By all means, I don't think I am an amazing nail art artist. So, but again, I like to dabble and I like to play. So for more information on Nail Lines products, you'd contact your account executive, and then more webinars, you would contact me. So I'm going to flip my camera on. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've done, and we will go from there. And then as I'm flipping my camera on, if you have not done so already, please make sure that you've typed in your full name and your school name into the chat box for attendance, so that we can track your attendance. Hang on, I'm just moving the chat box so that I can actually see it. Okay, so a great way to display your nail art is on swatches of sorts. These are always like, I love these. These are my work in progress, what I practice on. Like for example, my kids are obsessed with sharks. So during Shark Week, they wanted sharks on their nails. So I've never done a shark, so I had to practice doing sharks. So these are great for practicing nail art designs, and these are just stuff that I play with. This is probably a wheel that stays out at my station quite often because it has a variety of things. You know, it's got some Christmas, some Easter, Valentine's Day, Mickey and Minnie, Halloween, just an alternative to a French, flowers, just easy, simple nail art designs. During the holidays, I typically have a holiday palette that is set out when doing holiday nail art, and then I always have something, a work in progress that I'm always playing with or practicing on. If you guys have these mannequin hands and you've been practicing acrylics, don't throw away the tips that you've already put acrylic on. These have been used and abused. I will polish these, put nail art on these, and then after a class, I take my e-file, I buzz off all of the polish until the acrylic is completely gone. So these have been used and abused, but that's what I save them for. I save them for nail art. If you don't have these hands, another great option is popsicle sticks. We put acrylic on them and we practice e-filing on them because they're about the size of a finger, and we will polish and create and do nail art on, and I use both sides and I put acrylic on them. So this is another great option if you don't want to waste your plastic tips when practicing nail art. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about making stripes and making polka dots. If you can make a stripe and you can make a polka dot, you can pretty much make any nail design imaginable. The key is practicing, especially striping. Striping takes a long time to, it doesn't take a long time, but you really have to have a steady hand to make stripes, good stripes. Other tools that you're going to want to have in your arsenal, striping tape. You can get these at any beauty supply, with their nail art. Gems. So this gem is what I bought at a beauty supply. They don't come with a lot. Like these orange ones right here, that is about how much came in this container. These I bought at either Michael's or Hobby Lobby, a craft store, and they're jam-packed with beads. So go to the hobby store. You'll get way more for your buck. These I think I got at a hobby store or even possibly the dollar store. I can't remember. I thought they were really cute. They were little decals that you can, I like to put these underneath acrylic. My daughter actually has these on her nails right now, these little flowers. So again, find things in the most random place. Other things you're gonna need. This is a kitchen sponge, and I saturated the sponge with nail surface cleanse. The sponge is great, especially with gel polish, because you don't want to use acetone or polish remover when cleaning your nail art brushes because they're synthetic, so they'll melt. So take a sponge because they're lint-free, saturate it with nail surface cleanse or with some rubbing alcohol. That way you can wipe your brushes clean in between colors while you're working without transferring lint. You're going to need some lint-free wipes, plethora of polishes, and some tools. So I have a striper and a mini striper from Gelish. Now I love my mini, but this had too many bristles, so I gave it a haircut, and I tend to do that a lot with nail art brushes. I give them haircuts because I don't like the amount of bristles that they put on them. They're just too many for my liking. So I want to show you what it looked like before and what I've done to it. So I have, let me get the hand so you can see it against the white paper towel. So I thinned it out tremendously so that it was to my liking, because this was just way too much. Now I keep this one for when I want fatter stripes, but when I'm looking for tinier stripes or getting really close to the cuticle, I need a thinner brush, and we don't have one, so I made one. And then I just took polish and painted the top so I know which is which when I'm grabbing them out. Same with the ones that I bought at Sally's. This one's from Sally's. This had twice the amount of bristles, and I went in and gave it a haircut. To give your bristles a haircut or your brushes a haircut, you need an old pair of nippers and a brush, and you want to cut one hair at a time, going in a circle around your brush. So I just pick one hair. I go right to the base and I nip it. And then I go around and I pull another hair and I nip it. And I do that until it's thinned out to the density that I like. So that's what I do with those brushes. Dotting tools are a must if you are really going to be into doing a lot of nail art. If you don't have dotting tools, be creative. Use the end of a toothpick and cut the tip off. Use the end of a hairpin or a bobby pin. These are the ones from Hand and Nail Harmony. We have a ton of different sizes. They're double-sided. So that's another thing. Thread. I know it sounds crazy. The cheapest thread that you can buy at the dollar store is the best. So get some thread, and then makeup sponges, and anything else you think you might be able to find. So the first thing I want to talk about is doing some dots. So I'm going to grab some gel polish. We're going to polish some nails. And this one's missing a good chunk of acrylic because I've buzzed so much of it off, but that's okay. And also when you're practicing nail art, so that you're not wasting so much product, use acrylic, because you don't have to use a base coat. You can just go straight to your coats of color. So we're going to do our first coat, give that a cure. And nail art can be super simple, or it can be as intricate as you would like it to be. So like you could do, a colored French, add some striping and glitter. You could do a solid nail and just do a concentration and ombre down the glitter just as nail art. This would be considered simple nail art. I would probably charge like $2, $2 to $5 for something like this. Your nail art could be intricate and time consuming, and those I would charge definitely $10 to $15 for a nail. And I'll show you one that's a little more intricate while this is curing. So this one, this ombre, textured ombre, this one is very time consuming. I'll explain how to do this one later. It took a long time to achieve that. I would never do this on every single nail because of how time consuming it is. These marbling designs right here, this is with wet marbling. These are so easy and so fast to do. And they always look different. You can make them as creative as you want, any color you want. I love these. They're so fast and easy to do. So I'll show you guys how to do those wet marbling designs as well. But let's do flowers for now. Let's start with flowers. So I like to use a piece of tile. This is a ceramic tile that I found after my house was built. The builders left it behind, so that's what I use as my palette. You can use a piece of foil, you can use a paper plate, whatever you want to use, you can use. I'm gonna grab some black because I feel like that will show up really well. I'm gonna glob that on. Glob some white. And we'll grab a dotting tool. Flowers, I like to keep them in odd numbers. So I like to do like 1, 2, smaller dotting tool. Typically that would be my my flowers. I can put a rhinestone in the center. You can take a dotting tool or a brush and you can drag your beads out or down to create little petals. I'm going to add some white to these and give them a little more dimension. Before I cure it, so I'm going to kind of marble the flower a little bit. If I was going to do a rhinestone, let's do pink. I used to have one of those things to pick them up, but I don't have one. I don't know where it went. I'm going to use an orange wood stick. So I dipped my orange wood stick into my nail surface cleanse to get the tip of the orange wood stick wet so it could pick up my bead. I'm going to place my bead onto the wet polish. And then we're going to cure that into place. And I'm actually just going to flash cure it so that I can do another design. If you wanted to do a heart, again, if you can do a polka dot, you can just about do anything. We're just going to flash cure that so it doesn't move. Hearts are really easy as well, especially with gel polish. You just do 2 large dots next to each other. And using the pointy end of a dotting tool, you're just going to make the letter V, or you can use a really tiny brush to do this as well. Because the nice thing about gel polish is that you can drag it. There we have our heart, which is really easy. Now, let's say you don't like the design. You're like, oh, I really don't like that. Just wipe it off. You can use, don't make a mess. You can even just do a little nail surface cleanse and just wipe. There's fiber all over that. And wipe it off if you don't like your design, and then start over. So striping. Striping is key. The key to striping, I want to add more black to there. So you want to load your brush with your polish. It's kind of like painting when you're painting on a canvas. You want to take your brush, and I'm just doing the very tip of my brush, and I'm fanning out the bristles in my gel polish, and then I'm slowly filling the brush with my gel to about the halfway point. And then I'm just rolling it off. You want to make sure that you don't have a giant glob on the end of your brush. And this is if you're making really nice, clean, straight lines. When you're doing, and I'm going to purposely make mistakes so you can see the difference. You don't want to hold your brush high up and have it kind of wobbly, because you're not going to get a nice, clean, straight line. So if I come up like this and I try to do, well, of course I made a clean straight line. Chances are you're not going to make a nice, clean, straight line. When you're making your lines, you want to use the whole brush. So you want to use the whole belly of the brush, and I'm going to bend the finger as I'm moving. So from the top view, I like to put a little dot as to where I'm going to start. So I know where I'm starting. And then I'm going to push down, and then I'm going to drag my brush through all the way down the nail to get a nice, clean, straight line. So I'm going to show you that from the side. So what I'm not doing is I'm not using the tip of my brush. If I use the tip of my brush, I'm getting kind of a wonky line or a rounded line. But if I want to get a nice clean line, let me wipe some of that off. So I'm going to use the whole belly of my brush. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to try to do this from the side. I can't promise you this is going to look good. I'm going to lay that from the side, and I'm laying my brush down, and then I'm just dragging the whole belly of my brush down. Oh, I made a nice fat one to get a nice clean line. And it doesn't matter what direction you are going in. So you want to create those really nice clean lines. You're going to use the whole belly, and I'm going to twist my client's hand or their finger so that I can drag and use their body, use the curve of their hand, curve of their finger to create those straight lines. So when you're doing lines, just practice. And again, I'm using my finger as a kickstand. And then when you are doing lines, the more pressure you put, the fatter your line. The less pressure you put, the softer your line will be, or thinner your line will be. If you want curved lines, you can just go and then brush off, push, and feather off to get a fat or thinner line. And the same goes for like when you're doing kids striping. push, and pull. And you'll get the fatter, skinnier lines. And then when you want to go the opposite direction, load up your brush, opposite direction, go right in between those two lines, push to create a fatter line, and then taper off, push, taper off, push, taper off, and then you get your lines. So practice lines. Lines, I can spend hours just doing lines and just get the feel for your brush and get the feel of how much product is in your brush. So that's the key for striping. I'm just gonna cure these really quick so I can move on. So I just use a lint-free wipe. I wipe my brush, dip it into my nail surface cleanse, and then wipe it. Don't store your gel brushes near sunlight. You don't want to cure the polish in there. And I'm not top coating these. They're very sticky because I didn't top coat them. All right, let's do some wet marbling. So with wet marbling, you always want to do a cured layer and a wet layer. So what color do I want to do? Let's do pink, do a hot pink. So we're going to I don't know why I'm using pink. I absolutely hate the color pink. But that's what's currently in front of me, so that's what I'm grabbing. Sponging with gel polish. I don't like sponging on like you would with regular polish, where you would paint the polish onto the sponge and then sponge off or sponge it on. I prefer sponging off. So we will do a sponging, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And I actually prefer sponging with the 2D nail art gel versus gel polish. And we're going to talk about what those are shortly. We're going to do a couple of different wet designs. I want you to think outside of the box when you're doing wet marbling. So again, this is thread from the Dollar Tree. The cheaper the thread, the better. The thinner the thread, the better. I've tried using dental floss. I've tried using just like embroidery thread. The cheaper, the better. So I'm gonna show you what to do with that. But first, we're gonna do our wet coat. So we did our first coat and we cured. We're going to do our second coat, and we are not going to cure. We're going to leave that wet. I'm going to grab some glitter polish. Now, if you have a steady hand, you can apply directly out of the jar, the bottle. If you are not so steady-handed, then definitely apply it on a palette and then use a dotting tool. So like here, I'll do both. So we'll put a glob on my palette. Pick up a good glob, and I'm going to put some glitter, and I'm just going to stripe right on top of this wet pink. I'm going to make sure I get a good glob of the white on the end of my brush, and I'm going to stripe right. So if you have a steady hand, you can apply right out of, if there's any polish on the brush, wipe it off before you put it back in the container. Do some black. And you'll see it just starts to melt together. Now you're going to need a large striping brush. If you don't have one and you have a old, like a, what are the regular nail polish stripers, these, I broke one, but I loved the brush, so I cleaned it off and keep it and use that as your striper if you don't have a regular striping brush. So now I'm going to create stripes, and I'm going to do a starburst pattern, and I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out, and I'm going to do one direction first. So I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to pull in one direction, and then I'm just going to do a starburst. So I'm going to pull, pull. I'm not cleaning off my brush. Pull, pull, and then I'm going to go in between and drag back down. Drag it down, back to the center. And you'll create your wet marble design. And it's so fast and easy to do this design. And I'm just gonna flash cure that, and we're gonna do another design with wet marbling. So have you guys seen those nail art, or not nail art designs, but those artists that dip a brush, or not a brush, a piece of string or a chain, a ribbon, whatever, into paint, and they paint their canvas, the paint is still wet, they dip into another, they dip their string into paint, and then they lay it on the canvas, and then they gently pull and create a design, a flower, whatever design you want to call it. We're going to do the same thing, just on a nail. So we're going to take our canvas. We've done our first coat. We let that cure. We're going to take our second coat, put that on there. I'm going to grab my thread, if I can find what I did with it.
Marie, someone's asking if the pink was still wet.
Yes.
And then somebody else asked how long, when you say flash cure, how long is that?
I just do it for 10 to 20 seconds. It's just so that I can move on to the next nail. I seriously lost my thread. See, this is why I shouldn't pre-cut anything. I should just cut it as I go along. All right, so I'm going to take my thread. I mean, you don't have to flash cure. You can cure the whole thing. I'm only flash curing so that I can move on to the next nail for you guys. So I'm just going to glob polish all over my thread. Get it all nice and gooped up. This part's messy, so be prepared to be messy. And then you're just going to lay your thread onto the nail. No, I don't want it to go that way. There we go. And then you're just going to gently pull your thread to create your design. So it all depends on how the thread is laying on the nail to create your design. So I'll show you some other designs that I've done with the thread. So these are other designs that you can do. And they're always different. Nothing ever turns the same, which is what I love about it, doing the wet marbling that way, is that it's always different. And then you can, you know, give it a flash cure, give it a full cure, and then you can go back in with a nail brush and dip it in paint and add other elements to your design that you want to add. If you wanted to add glitter, if you wanted to accentuate certain lines, because to me that kind of looked like a feather. So if I had to, I probably would maybe make a really sharp, clean line down the center so it looked more like the spine of a feather. So that's fun, but this is messy. That's the only thing I don't, oh, you know, I just found the thread that I was looking for. It's messy, so that's, you know, sometimes nail art can be a little messy, but like this to me kind of looked like a feather, so I might like take a really thin, where's my thin brush? I would probably go in, add some white to this, and then like create like a spine. I don't have enough white. And just kind of make that a little darker in some spots to give it a little more dimension. So that's another option you can do with marbling, or wet marbling, I should say. So it's always first coat, cure, second coat, leave it wet, add your additional polish, and then create your marbling, whether it's with a brush, with thread, or any other design that you may think of. I do want to show you, since I have black and white already on my palette here, I do want to kind of show you how to create this design. So this design it's time consuming, but it's really cool and I love doing it. It's just really time consuming. So what I did is after I painted the nail white, I did a second coat of white, just so you know, and I gave that a full cure. So 2 coats of my white was fully cured. I then took my striping mini striper, the regular one, and I grabbed a little bit of my black and I mixed it into my white. And I probably would make this even lighter, but that's probably still too dark. And what I did is I just did a stripe across the top of the nail, and then I made a crown or little peaks.
Marie, can you use gel polish for water marbling or water dipping? Somebody asks.
I've never done that. I know you can do like a smoky nail, but you have to use acetone. So you would take a dampened dish, fill it with some acetone, add your gel polish, mix it together, and then you can marble and do like a smoke effect. I've never done the where you drip it into water. I know what you're talking about. I've never done it with gel polish. I don't think gel polish will spread the way, you know what? Please hold. I do not. So if anybody sat in on my webinar this morning with microfusion, you know I had this little cup of water. So I don't know. You know what? We're going to find out together on camera. How do we all feel about that? So we're going to add a drop of pink because I've never done it with gel polish. So I don't know if it spreads the same. I need another color because my white, I'm running out of white. I don't know if I can get my white in there. White is not working. I drew another pink. What is with me and pink today? I hate pink. All right, so honestly, I don't know. Like, it's not spreading the same way regular polish spreads. Ugh. It's, yeah, I guess you could. It actually doesn't look so bad. Don't clean up the thing. You use a nice cleanup brush. Don't do what I'm doing. I mean, it's okay. I don't know if I like it. I think it's better on regular polish, but I guess it can be done.
It said, now would it cure?
Let's find out. I'm taking one for the team here, guys. Taking one for the team. All right, let's move her out of the way. I feel like that's the longest 30 seconds ever. Okay, so after curing it, it got really, and I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it got really bubbly. And it kind of felt when it was curing, I could kind of feel it pulling and shrinking. That could also be because I put this on top of nails that have already been top coated. So it was not on a tacky surface. So I can't promise you that it would turn out. Definitely try it on a more accurate. Chances are this will wipe right off my nail because, again, it was done, on top of a top coat. So it is peeling right off.
I wonder if you did, since it does spread a little bit, I wonder if you did that same thing with acetone, if it would maybe work out better.
Well, the problem with acetone is what breaks down the gel polish, which is why it creates that really nice smoky look, because it's actually breaking down the polish. So that's my only thing with the acetone, is that you are breaking it down so that it does get that milky, smoky look. So now I'm going back to that ombre one, and I'm just darkening that gray. And then as soon as this cures, and again, I flash cure it. I don't even do a full cure. I do a flash cure, and then I'm going to do another stripe. And I probably will not make it this fat, but I want you guys to be able to see it on camera. And then I'm going to go in between those other two peaks. You're almost like bricklaying it.
Can you do like a gel base and then regular polish and then a gel top coat?
No, it will not stick. If you do that, you have to make sure that your regular polish is 100% dry. You have to do a light buff onto each of those coats before you can do a top coat. And honestly, that's way too much work.
I feel like it would make it look sort of mucky also.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not meant to be together. Like if you're investing in a base coat and a top coat, you might as well invest in the gel polish that goes with it. So we're gonna add more black, and then you would just continue to darken this gray until you get to black, until you work your way all the way down the nail, and you would get that effect. So that's why this is so time consuming. I would never do this on a person. It takes way too long. But it was fun to do. I did do this same technique on a Christmas tree. So I did greens and I created a very light green on top, and I just kept overlapping and worked my way down and made a Christmas tree on my client. So I did the same concept, I just did it in a single design instead of the whole nail. So that's another option as well if you wanted to do that design or that technique. Now I do want to show you guys Artform Gel. Artform Gel is nothing like gel polish, and it is not 3D gel either. There's a difference between 3D gel, spider gel, and 2D nail art. So this is 2D. This is a very thick, opaque, pigmented gel versus gel polish. So it's not designed to be used as polish. It is designed to be used for nail art. So to create your design, and we're just gonna wipe this off really quick. Oh, I forgot, I cured that, never mind. We're gonna just paint over that. So 2D nail art is very thick, opaque. What do I want to use? Let's do blue. You don't want to apply directly out of the jar. You can if you're only doing one color. We have a ton of these in a ton of different colors. I only bought the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and then I purchased white and black, and then I make all of my other colors when I want another color. But you can see it's very thick and gooey. So I'm gonna pull some out, put some on my palette. Grab some white. So Artform Gel is to create the one-stroke technique. And the one-stroke technique are designs to create the flower petals that kind of look like they are sponge painted on. I am not very good. This took me forever to do. Again, I'm not very good at it. I've been practicing, but again, by all means, not very great. But it's to create the one-stroke technique, which is very similar to real artist painting, which I'm not an artist by all means, far from it. So I'm gonna I use a square gel brush. And I need to give my gel brush a haircut because I've got some strands that are sticking out. Okay, so I'm gonna do, on my square brush, I'm gonna do one corner blue, the other corner white. So I'm going to add some white to this corner. I'm gonna add blue to this corner, and then I'm gonna blend the two colors together. And then when you're creating the one-stroke technique, again, I am not very good at it, so bear with me. I've been watching YouTube videos, not on nail art. I've been watching painters like Bob Ross, believe it or not. He does a lot of good one stroke, and I'm still not very good at it. But you want to, flowers, I tend to put the darker color in the middle and the lighter color on the outside of my petals. And you're going to keep your brush like on a tip, and then I do the letter V because I know that's how big I want my petal. And then I'm just going to kind of curve and connect my V and create a petal. It kind of looks to me more like a clamshell. And then I'm going to push, twist my hand, and create another petal. And I'm going to come on this side, push, press, twist, and create another petal. And that's how you create those beautiful, mine's not beautiful, however, you get those really pretty one stroke flowers, I guess. And then I'm just gonna load my brush up again and go finish around my petals.
Is every product you're using a soak off gel?
Yes.
Okay.
These are all soak off. All right, so I've created my giant flower. I don't even know what that's called, but I don't know. Somebody name a flower, that's what that's gonna be. And then, again, polka dots make everything look pretty, just so you know. So I'm gonna flash cure this really quick. I don't recommend using the art form gel to do dots because it's so gooey. When you try to do dots, it will pull and get really stringy, and you get those like string marks when you are using art form gel to create polka dots. It's strictly for making really quick, opaque payoff without having to do multiple layers. You can never do this technique using regular gel polish because the gel polish is so thin compared to the art form gel that you're not going to get that opaque payoff. You're going to have to do layers and layers to get that look when you could use art form gel and just do it in one, you know, one step, one brush stroke. And then I would go in with a tiny dotting tool and I would add my little pollen in the center of my flower. And then you could use, I don't know, if you really wanted to accentuate the edges of your flower, you can go back in with just the white and then just go in and really define those lines in the center of your flower so that it looks more three-dimensional. I think it's cute. Maybe not that big and not on the center of the nail.
That's nice.
But it's all right. It still looks like a clamshell to me instead of a flower shell or flower petal, but you know, again, work in progress. This is definitely not a technique that I've done often. I don't do it very often.
Looking good. How much you charge to do mine, Miss Marie?
This design, it's going to be $100 because I don't like doing it.
I like all of them.
I charge a lot of money for things that I don't enjoy doing, FYI. Like when clients ask me to give them a perm, I'm like $200.
Period. Keep
$200 because that turns them away because, you know.
Now the black and the color that you did, the black, I wear it with my boyfriend. The second one, the ones by the pink, I wear that. Yes.
Yeah, this is the wet design. These are really easy. I would only charge like $5 to do this on somebody's, like, you know, you do your set, whatever, but nail art for the wet design, you don't have to charge a lot because, I mean, it's easy, it's fast, and
you got it going on.
So I do want to show you ombre on, I need to find a nail that's not a French. And I also wanted to show you guys some sugar art designs. So sugar art designs are where you, after you've polished and you've top coated, you would take, so for his pom-pom and the fur of his hat, after I cured all of the full nail, I took top coat and I put it just on where the white of the pom-pom and his hat was, and then I took white dipping powder and I poured that on top of the top coat, gave that a cure, and then wiped it off. So the only thing that is textured is the white of his hat, and the rest of him is shiny, and it's kind of raised. You can see it. So this is sugar art. I did the same thing. I did the whole nail black, and then I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I did a design with the top coat. After I cured everything, I went back in, added more top coat, did my design, and then I took clear dipping powder and just put clear dipping powder so that it looked matte but textured. So if like you feel it, it's textured and sandy feeling, or it feels like sugar. So that I love doing. I did the same thing for like a snowflake, where I did a whole glittery nail, and then I did the snowflake, and the snowflake is textured so it looks like snow. So that's another fun design to do. If you are doing, so I love for Christmas, the Christmas lights, but I wasn't satisfied with the way this looked because I didn't like my stripe. So the same concept is I took my cheapy thread, so I painted the nail white. Let me get it so it's focused. I painted the nail white. I dipped my thread into top coat, and I placed the thread onto the nail, and then I cured it. And then I cut the excess off. And then I took rhinestones, and I just put rhinestones as my light bulbs, so that I got a nice, clean, straight line. And then the rhinestones are the light bulbs. Love this. Again, think outside of the box when you're doing nail art, because you can create so many fun things. You guys want to see sugar art really quick? All right, sugar art. Sorry, it's not going to be a beautiful design because I'm just going to use the nail that's already on here. So we're going to take pink. So I don't have this color in dipping powder, so I'm just going to use regular polish. We're going to create our design. I'm just going to create just some stripes. So whatever your design is, you're going to, and sugar art is done after you top coat. So you put your top coat on, you get the sticky layer off, you put your design on, you're gonna take dipping powder. Where is my dipping powder? I can't find my dipping powder. I'm gonna use acrylic powder because that's all I got. You could use acrylic powder too. Both would work, because dipping powder is acrylic. So I'm going to take my clear dipping powder. I'm going to grab my scoop. I'm going to pour this on top of my pink. Tap off the excess. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. And then you need to let that cure for 30 seconds. So let it go for the full 30 seconds. And then you'll just dust off any excess. So really quick, if you're doing multiple colors, multiple layering, you do need to cure each color one at a time. So for my Rudolph over here, I first painted the whole nail white, gave that a cure, created his face, his silhouette, his ears, and the brown, gave that a cure. Then I took the white, did the inside of his ears, did his two large whites of his eyes. I also added the red, gave that a cure. Then I went in with the black to give him like the bug out eyes. So I gave him the pupils, and then I did his antlers, gave that a cure. Then I added one more dot of white to make him look like deer in a headlight, and gave that a cure. So anytime you're doing multiple or layering designs, you have to cure each and every single one. Otherwise, it is not going to, cure. And then you would just dust off the excess, and then you have your sugar art. Now, when you're sponging, find with gel polish, it is best to sponge off. I would first do a base color, so I would do all white, all whatever color you want, but just make sure you have a base color. And then I would stripe on whatever colors you want to sponge. And you don't have to touch the colors because the sponge will blend them together. And when you're sponging, layers, layers and layers. You want to do thin layers and multiple layers to get the desired look. Make sure you clean up around your cuticle. Don't use your finger. Use a nice cleanup brush. And then I like to just sponge the color off. And then I would cure that and do another layer, cure that, do another layer until I got the level of depth that I'm looking for. So for example, So for my sunset, I first painted the nail with a really light peachy color, and then I added the red, the orange, and the yellow, and I sponged it off, gave it a cure, did another layer, sponged it off, gave it a cure. I actually did 3 layers of the red, the orange, and the yellow, and I sponged it off. Then I went in and created my palm tree with my hula girl and her island, gave that a cure. And then when you top coat it, once you put the top coat on, that will blend any of those sponge marks and give you a really nice ombre. So ombre is time consuming with gel polish when you're creating designs like this. But it's just patient. I mean, it's not that time consuming if you're only doing one nail. It's time consuming if you're doing a bunch of nails. And the only thing is just make sure you clean up around the skin before you cure it, because that's gonna cure to their cuticles and nail grooves. So make sure you clean that up before you give anything a cure. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was inspirational and that you guys have some ideas and want to do some nail art. Practice, practice, practice.
Mom?
So thank you guys again so much. If you have not done so already, please make sure you've typed in your name into the chat box along with your school name so that we have your attendance.
Are you on Instagram?
No, I'm old, hon. I don't do Instagram.
Oh man,
I'm old.
Man, my nails is looking a mess.
I'm old. I don't do Instagram. My daughter keeps sending me these TikToks. I'm like, stop sending me this nonsense. I don't have time for that.
Oh, okay.
No, but I would love to see your nail art. So if you guys want to make sure you're following us on Facebook and share your nail art designs on Facebook.
What's your name? What's your name on Facebook? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Your New School.
Okay, hold on.
She said,
Also, while everyone is quarantined, we are selling to students directly, which we normally don't do. So if you guys want to purchase any of these products, or I saw somebody really wants to try sugaring, you can just ask your instructor for order form, and they should have it and send it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in ordering any of the products that we've used on any of our webinars, we are going to be selling to students directly. You just have to contact your educator, and they can reach out to us for the order form, and they can get that over to you guys.
Okay, so you want me to let that's I tapped in Your New School.
Yeah, so once you follow us on Facebook, and then just share your pictures with us. Show us your nail art, put your school name, start promoting yourself on our Facebook page.
Tag us in.
Tag us. We would love to see some of the stuff you guys are doing using our products. So thank you guys again so much. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I will hopefully see you guys on our next webinar. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Again, if you have not done so already, please make sure you put your full name, your school name, and location into the chat box so that we can track your attendance. I'm going to stay in for just a couple more minutes, and then I'm logging out.